So the age-old question, will Wonka be any good? I made a video on this a few months ago, and now it's time to answer this question. And yeah, to break the ice, it's good. I wouldn't call it great though. Let's start with Timothée Chalamet, as he was everyone's biggest worry going into the film. He more or less worked. Definitely not terrible, but far from perfect. The singing fell a little flat, but he was charming in the role. He's my favourite actor and brings his unique magnetism to this film and to the character. I don't think anyone here gives a bad performance. Hugh Grant was fine, I guess. A lot of the performances were over the top, and that's how they were written. The villains especially. They're not meant to be taken seriously, but instead booed at by the audience. This part of the film can only work if you let it. If you embrace the silly nature of it, then you'll have fun. But understandably, it's not for everyone. I had a bit of trouble getting on board at points. This isn't necessarily my thing, but can acknowledge the quality of it and still really like it. The sincerity of this is there, oozing out like jam in the sugary donut goodness that is Wonka. The heart of this film beats all the way through, and is the part which at the very end raised my score. Without Paul King, the director here, and the director of the Paddington films, this could have been a total misfire, and one that stank of lazy corporate greed. Luckily for us, Paul King turned this Willy Wonka prequel that no one asked for into a heartfelt fun time. I am, however, like what seems to be every film, conflicted over Wonka. The past few videos I've said this, but I am. Some of this film feels too fluffy, and because of that it kind of lacks stakes and tension, which leads to less engagement. There were a few dull moments because of this, moments which soured some of my enjoyment of this film. They are far and few between, so it doesn't ruin the movie by any means, but is definitely an issue I have with it. Other issues I have include things like the CGI that was used for Hugh Grant's Oompa Loompa. While not terrible, it could have been improved or not used entirely. It looks awkward and never sits right with you as an audience. Parts of this also just didn't hit that hard for me. It's a weak hot chocolate. Not strong enough. The message and journey of Wonka, while there, isn't as strong or as stated as I would have liked. I can't help but to look back on this and think it could have been more polished, more colourful and vibrant. The look of Wonka is quite grounded, but it looks stunning. The costume design and set design blew me away. It's gritty in a sense, which contradicts the performances happening in these environments. To be honest, I wasn't a big fan of the whole over-the-top pantomime shtick that this film has going on. Some people said that they are sucked into the magical charm that this movie offers, but personally I just couldn't. I am, however, going to give this film the benefit of the doubt. I gave it a score when I left the cinema, so that's the score I'm going to stick to. I'll come back to that score in a minute. This is apparently a more faithful adaptation of the Willy Wonka character, and is one I like to view as its own thing. It's hard to see this as a prequel to Gene Wilder's version, so I just don't like to. It's wildly different and that's okay. It works for the kind of film it is. It's a really good family film. That's what Paul King thrives at. You've got to watch this in a good mood though, because my cynical ass couldn't be fully invested in the fun. Maybe it's my fault, maybe it's the film, but nevertheless, there are some genuinely great elements that tie this film together. My score, which is a 3.5 out of 5, could change on a rewatch, so don't be surprised if you see it go down to a 3 on Letterboxd. That is, if you follow me. Currently, it's at a 3.5, but at the lower end of that score. I'm sticking with my out of the theatre reaction and trying not to overthink it. Wonka is a pretty decent film. A film not necessarily for me, but one I still enjoyed. It has heart, but can be too silly at times. The performances can be silly, but its sincerity as a movie rings true. Thank you for watching, and make sure you subscribe for some more film content. I guess that's goodbye for now.